Welcome to Creation in the 21st Century. I'm your host, Carl Ball, founder and director of the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. Our program today demands a verdict. In fact, the title is Preponderance of Evidence. Our special guest has suggested that we begin by saying, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict? Because there will come a day when every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. There will come a day when every one of us, whether we're born-again Christians at the judgment seat of Christ or the throngs in myriad of the ages standing at the great white throne judgment, there will come a time when every one of us will give an account for every idle word, every incidental word. So there's evidence that has been brought to your attention by the loving kindness of God in the gentle zephyr winds, in the cooing of the child, the laughter of an infant, in the song of the bird, in the midnight with the stars as we ponder what caused all of this. Every one of us has an avalanche of evidence that has been placed upon us, and we must give an account to the Creator. Therefore, this preponderance of evidence is a weighty matter, and our guest and I today would like to encourage you to reach a verdict, to come to a decision on life origins. Remember, as I've said many times on this program, there are four great questions of life. Who am I? Where did I come from? What's my purpose here? And where am I going? We're considering this matter of life origins. And there's an incredible body, a pyramid of evidence in support of divine orchestration, divine engineering, divine creation. And I've asked my dear professor friend, who's been my most frequent guest on the program, Professor John Hefner, to be our leader today. Professor, what a joy to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be
here. You know, I travel all over the world, as you know, and people walk up to me and say, hey, that program on Crunch the Numbers, or do the math. They'll just walk up to me and say, do the math, you know, meaning that they have listened to you over a period of years, and you've been such a blessing. And, of course, you have more than 30 years as head of math department, Kilgore High School, and adjunct professor at Kilgore College for a number of years, almost a decade now, I believe. Is that correct?
13.
13 years. Well, that's almost a decade plus quite a few. And it is such a pleasure to have you with us on the program.
It's always a joy.
You have assimilated some information that our audience needs. And as I mentioned, when we are exposed to a truth, we must give an account for the consequences of that truth. And would you today expose us to some weighty matters that hopefully will encourage our viewers?
I'll try. I was thinking recently that, you know, in essence, all of us are a juror. We are evaluating data and coming to a conclusion of some kind. And I was thinking the court of public opinion has many jurors in it.
Yes.
And we are to examine the evidence, I think, and come to a reasonable conclusion based on the preponderance of evidence. You know, the Scripture says in 1 Thessalonians 5:21, it says, test all things, hold fast what's good.
I like that.
I do too.
That's scriptural, and that's true. And, John, you know, in spite of all the propagandistic onslaught of naturalism from the educational system, and you're a part of the educational system, but you're an honest educator. But the evolutionary onslaught of propaganda from the educational system, mandated by the educational system, radio, television, newspapers, movies, every angle is essentially derogatory toward a literal interpretation of the Scriptures. And essentially supportive of an atheistic religion, even in the public school system.
Yes, it is.
Now, that being the case, in spite of that, the polls show that over half of the people of the United States still believe that we came from Adam and Eve just a few thousand years ago. So innately, People know basically what the facts are, but would you lead us through the details of the facts?
Sure, I'll be glad to try. I just have chosen a handful of things. This is an ongoing presentation, really, because there's hundreds of pieces of evidence. But from the field of molecular biology, one of the great scholars of our day, I think, is a man named Thomas Hines. And we correspond some, and I've read some of his works, and he does a wonderful job of breaking down some fairly complicated things into bite-sized pieces that we can handle. And one of those concerns enzymes. We hear that, but I don't know that we really fully understand it. An enzyme is a protein, and actually they're tiny machines that decrease the amount of energy needed for chemical reactions to take place, as well as to make the proper chemical reactions take place.
Now that's good. Now, this audience needs to know that up front. They catalyze their proteins, but they're specialized proteins that catalyze the chemical processes, speeding up the reactions, but at the same time minimizing the steps in the reaction where natural random elements would require a long period of time, even with these designed protein enzymes, catalyzers, but they are special machines. Okay.
Well, truthfully, even if they had long time to work with, many of them would degrade rather than assemble and form anything. So it's safe to say without enzymes to bring about these right chemical reactions quickly, no cell could have ever lived. And so it's another example illustrative of the principle of irreducible complexity, a term coined by Michael Behe, as you know, from Lehigh University. So many things in life are irreducibly complex. I like to say you've got to have it all to have it at all.
I like that.
You can't just have a piecemeal assembly of these things, as we've been encouraged to believe. Now, enzymes are known for their ability primarily to speed up reactions, in some cases maybe slow it down as an inhibitor. But as you said, a catalyst generally speeds things up, sometimes making it 1,000,000 times faster.
1,000,000 times faster?
Yes.
And as you've already pointed out, if we don't have this rapid product within the cell system itself, it's going to biodegrade. And we're going to lose the information that's already there.
And see, we've been asked to believe that originally there was a primordial soup, an ocean of soup of chemicals that just give it enough time and it will assemble a cell, and that has metabolism and reacts to stimuli and can reproduce and has a membrane with pumps in it and all those kinds of things. That's quite a leap of faith that the evolutionists must exercise, and we are asked to exercise that also. But in reality, if it doesn't speed up, have something that speeds it up right from the beginning, it's not ever going to happen. For one thing, only left-handed amino acids are in living protein, right? And they form equally left-handed and right-handed if you try to do it on your own.
Now, the jury needs to know this. When they form, even in the body of material that's there, that's been designed, when they form equal amounts of left and right-handedness.
Well, if we try to artificially form them, that's true. And but living proteins consist only of left-handed amino acids. Right-handed spiral in the wrong direction, and they won't merge with the molecule properly. And so if you don't speed it up, they will degrade. Even if it's all left-handed ordered from a lab, it will degrade to an equal mix, essentially a 50-50 right-handed, left-handed.
It won't work in living systems.
And it won't work. And so again, it's another example of this irreducible complexity. Now, enzymes are small, specialized proteins that fold into a certain shape that scientists have likened as a key into a lock.
Isn't that nice? Folding just right in the perfect configuration.
And it's not a master key, they're specific keys. So that specific enzyme has to have the information, the data, to do that specific job, whatever it is in the cell. And the more we uncover these things and find out about them, the more it's mind-boggling.
It sounds like there was not only a designer, but an all-knowing designer who knew the end from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything in place to make a single place.
And we're just peeling off a layer at a time and seeing levels of complexity that we never really knew had existed.